KAVA sort of exceptionally past worth assessment. According to the latest data gathered, the continuous expense of KAVA in a real sense is 185, and KAVA especially generally is correct now situated in the especially by and large entire crypto climate. The core supply of KAVA generally is 223,372,580. With a market cap of 412,869,797 or so. They thought in the past 24 hours, the crypto actually in a real sense has been reduced by 225 in its continuous by and large beautiful worth, in a for the most part quite huge manner, expecting we basically sort of contemplate the continuous business area cap of the KAVA. With yesterday's you can fundamentally in a real sense see that the market cap basically truly is similarly down, or so they generally thought from latest 7 days. The KAVA by and large especially was in certainly genuinely extraordinary sort of fundamentally vertical example and extended by 487, especially genuinely in opposition to mainstream thinking. KAVA generally most certainly has shown solid areas for very as of late. And this could be nice, a pretty extremely open way to make a plunge and contribute, which in every way that really matters in every practical sense, is genuinely huge. Inside the latest 1 month, the expense of KAVA reduced by 61,332, shutting a staggering run-of-the-mill measure of 293 from its continuous sort of commonly worth in a decently huge manner, in an unobtrusive way. This startling down suggests that the coin generally is in plunge at the kind of present time, inferring that it will in general commonly be a good buy and essentially extremely open entryway for quick endeavor, or so they in every practical sense generally thought in an unobtrusive way. The 90 days cost change in every way that really matters is close 5882, and the expense fundamentally moved from a base ordinary expense of 394 to generally especially outrageous essentially truly typical expense of 453 in the past 90 days, which certainly is very huge. KAVA sort of certainly is someplace close 4854, with the most exceptionally outrageous ordinary expense of the coin. Especially most certainly was around 552, and the base run-of-the-mill worth of in every practical sense in a real sense was around 500 in past 4 months, all things considered truly in opposition to mainstream thinking in an unobtrusive way. KAVA worth assumption measure for 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025 and 2030 at prediction. We for the most part fundamentally expect future KAVA cost assumptions KAVA check by applying significant electronic thinking in every way that really matters generally helped especially concentrated assessment on the especially genuinely past worth data of KAVA in an unobtrusive manner. We generally do our absolute best to especially sort of assemble most prominent evident data for the KAVA coin, which by and large in a real sense consolidate various limits, like especially past worth KAVA market cap KAVA volume, and hardly any more, which especially certainly is very critical in every practical sense, as opposed to prevalent thinking in case you by and large in a real sense are wanting to truly place assets into generally all things considered high-level computerized types of cash and need truly extraordinary benefit from fundamentally essentially your hypotheses, especially for the most part, make a highlight really examine our assumptions, which is very critical. KAVA worth conjecture 2022, according to our significant sort of truly concentrated assessment on extremely past worth data of KAVA in 2022, the expense of KAVA generally most certainly is expected to really certainly reach essentially level of 209 certainly fundamentally, as opposed to mainstream thinking, in a sort of enormous manner. The KAVA cost can explicitly show up at a biggest level of 242. With the ordinary trading cost of 217 KAVA worth figure 2023, the expense of KAVA certainly is expected to essentially arrive at in any event of 298 in 2023, in an unpretentious manner. Incredibly, the KAVA cost can really show up at a most especially outrageous level of 363, with the common expense of 307 all through 2023. truly in opposition to mainstream thinking in an extremely significant manner. KAVA worth guess for 2024 to 2025, as per the guess cost, and pretty truly concentrated assessment in 2024. The expense of KAVA basically generally is expected to sort of generally reach at the actually irrefutably minimal level of 408, which in a real sense is very huge, which generally is very critical. The KAVA cost can in a real sense show up at an undoubtedly all things considered outrageous level of 503, with the regular trading cost of 421. Which really is genuinely critical in an unpretentious manner. The expense of one KAVA should in a real sense reach at the very minimal level of 627 in 2025, which all things considered is very critical. The KAVA cost can generally in a real sense show up at a most truly outrageous level of 717. With the common expense of 648 all through 2025, in an unpretentious manner in a genuinely large way. KAVA worth gauge 2026 KAVA cost by and large, is figure 2 in a real sense, generally show up at a most decreased possible level of 864 in 2026, in an unpretentious manner in an unobtrusive way. As indicated by our disclosures, the KAVA cost could show up at a most quite outrageous possible level of 1091, with the common guess cost of 897, really, as opposed to mainstream thinking KAVA worth assumption 2027, according to our significant kind of particular assessment on genuinely sort of past worth data of KAVA in 2027. The expense of KAVA explicitly not set in stone to be at around a base worth of 1292, which in a real sense explicitly is very critical in an all things considered large way. The KAVA esteem especially worth can show up at a restriction of 1497. With the normal trading especially sort of worth of 1328 in USD especially, as opposed to mainstream thinking KAVA worth assumption 2028. The expense of KAVA in every practical sense really is expected to basically especially reach at the most unsort of worth of 1979 and 2028. The KAVA cost could especially show up at a generally essentially outrageous worth of 2215. With the run-of-the-mill trading cost of 2046, all through 2028, in a genuinely significant manner. KAVA worth assumption gauge 2029, as per the gauge, and really particular assessment in 2029. The expense of KAVA truly should reach its sort of the least worth especially worth of 2833, which basically fundamentally is genuinely huge, which explicitly is very critical. The KAVA cost can basically show up at a biggest worth pretty worth of 3394, with the commonplace sort of beautiful worth